Well, we have a really awesome cold front tonight, and wanted to go through the thought process of why we're hunting in certain stands or why we're not. And tonight we're not. There's certain bucks that I'm waiting to come in the land. The one comes in around mid-October. I'm surprised he's not here yet, but he's alive across the street. The other neighbor diagonally gets him about once a week during the middle of the night. We know where he stays, and but he's shown a consistent pattern of being on our property mid-October and on, and he's a big one. And so I'm just kind of in waiting mode. At the same time, we have a 6-year-old Junior and a 5-year-old Mikey that are really nice bucks. And Junior, it was one we have a history of. This is his 4th year we've had pictures of him. We found his shed last year. He's just a really nice buck. And I'm not saying I wouldn't be happy with him. We have a long story, but at the same time, Jen hunts here too, and she puts the same amount of work in this land as I do. Sometimes seems like more. If I'm on a client trip, she's getting stuff done around the property here. So anyways, Junior is what Jen's going after right now. That might change where we both go after him later, but I want to see what else is around. And I don't mind doing that. I've passed up bucks that are 5 years old that I've shot later in the season just because I want to see what else is out there. The season's a marathon, not a sprint. I want to enjoy the season. So we're looking at the entire property. Right now, bucks we want to shoot, there's a couple 4-year-olds we don't want to shoot, Crockett and Short Horse. Short Horse is like a tweener one. He's a really nice buck. There's one we wouldn't mind shooting, Trouble. He's the neighbor coined him as Trouble because he chases a lot of other deer off. He's a 5-year-old 8-point bully with some stickers. He's a really cool buck. And my son-in-law Joey likes to work out here. He's always willing to come out and do work. And he wouldn't mind shooting Trouble, so I might sit with him and see if we can shoot Trouble. Bottom line is, real problems, I know, but at the same time, we have to make good decisions. And so we're not going out just to sit. And tonight is a good example because it's a prime cold front night. It's probably 21 degrees. It's supposed to be 22 degrees, something like that, cooler than last night. Yesterday we had thunderstorms at dark, before dark, after dark. Really kept the deer back in their bedding areas that weren't moving around that much. And so today, everything's cleared out. Winds are moderated. They were pretty high yesterday. It really is a perfect night to go out, but the winds suck. And you have to exercise patience in this. We have an area where Jim, the people called him the Hermit. We knew him as Jim. His trailer is right here. We have a nice 1-acre food plot. We have this edge that kind of comes down like this. Let's say that's 3/4 of a mile long. We have a long, narrow, about 2-acre food plot here. A little clover plot right here with a stand location. We have a blind on a water hole right here that's about 75 yards away from this food plot. So we can get in there. It's great for gun because we can shoot here, but at the same time with that blind, we can shoot that water hole. We have a ditch coming up like this with a crossing through here. We have a stand. We call that the power line because there's a power line that goes down here, down the hill. This is all going downhill this way. We have a bottom plot down here with a stand, neighbor's house down there. We have some more stands right here on this corner. Field kind of goes like this. The edge goes like this. We have a water hole, so we can, winds going this way, northwest, or winds going this way, out into the field, we can hunt this. And where Junior is living is down, this all goes downhill, all through here down to a creek, bottom. All goes downhill. And Junior, the best we can tell for the last years, even when we got his first picture 4 years ago or 4 seasons ago, he lives, and we have a couple other food plots in here on this side. This is all woods. We have a big food plot over here. This draw, big hollow going this way. We feel strongly that he lives and he daytime beds in this area right here. In the past, he's gone through this little plot, but it seems like there's some bucks. Crockett is one of them. Mikey sometimes is another one. We have a nicer 9-point, a 10-point that we haven't named yet. They're down in that area as a little brat pack. Crockett's 4, Mikey's 5. Mikey's one we'd go for. But they're down in this area. And Junior's really one we're targeting. What we see is Junior's not mixing with any other bucks. We only see him. And Dylan, have you noticed that even in years past, he's usually by himself?
He's kind of a solo roamer.
I've passed him up twice, and each time he was by himself, and he's close. I passed him up at this stand location on the water hole at the end of this food plot. That's where we'd like to hunt. We'd like to hunt the power line, this stand right there. I wouldn't mind getting down here. I don't want to spook that group of bucks that's down there right now, because if we spook them, they're going to go into Junior. I'd rather hunt that during rut time. And he hasn't shown himself here. And that's pretty characteristic of early season bucks. This area and this area is about 600 yards apart. We just haven't seen him mix in that area. He's going down into angle here and coming back up. And then at night, we've seen him here. We have camera here, camera there, we've seen him. So we've seen him in this area this year, and that's it. So want to go down and hunt. That's where Jen would sit. Perfect opportunity tonight. We have a night she can get down there. And she even said, I can't hunt Junior tonight. She would sit at this stand right here. We would sit at this stand, would be a potential. This stand would be a potential. She can't hunt. And so we're a little disappointed that she can't get out and hunt. This is where we see him coming out in the evening. And by the time he's over here, it's middle of the night, dark. It's funny how you can be 200 yards away and he's not showing himself until after dark. But if you know where he's coming out, they're typically not going out into an open field during broad daylight, especially a 6-year-old, and then going from there back into the woods or back into another open food source. And they're just not doing that during daylight. And so right now when these bucks in the more early season, it's, what's the date, October 6th today?
6th, yep.
Yeah. So in this time of the year, they're typically going from bedding to food. When it gets more pre-rut, he's going to run from, then his territory will expand. You might see him at a stand here. He might hit here. He might hit here. And he might all go down this corner all in one day. You'll see him during daylight. He's running parallel to that field edge. That's when you know the rut's on, the pre-rut's on. They're starting to move. They're paralleling trails that are going in and out looking for does and looking for doe scent, for does and heat. Right now, that's not the case. They're going from bedding to food. Pretty boring. And so you can have a compact area like that that only represents 250 yards, and he's coming out primarily in one spot of that every time he goes in and out. So if we're sitting here, wind goes this way. If we're sitting here, wind goes this way. Wind goes this way. We could hunt that stand, but he hasn't shown himself there. And we haven't seen him there in the past until mid-season and later. So we don't want to go into adjacent stands where you don't feel he's at right now, because it's not within that bedding to food source movement, that defined area early season, and spook out deer on adjacent areas that would ruin his movement right now. He's in that strong pattern. We wanted to let that pattern persist. And this is where I think people tend to lose bucks on their land, because they'll say, well, I want to go sit off to the side. I just want to get out and hunt. People want to go out and sit, and you want to force it. And you'll say, well, I'm just going to sit off to the side over here. And it becomes a pinball effect. So you go into this bottom stand right here because you think, well, you know, my target buck has been in there in the past. He could be in there. However, there's another group of bucks there. You go in there, you spook one of them, you spook all of them. They run up into this area where Junior's at. Well, what does Junior do? He doesn't just sit there and watch those bucks come in. He moves with them, just gets the heck out of there, goes into an escape route. Then they're not coming back for a while. He doesn't know what pushed him. He's a 6-year-old. He's not even a 4-year-old. And a lot of you think that, you know, real world problems. You know, it must be nice to hunt 6-year-olds. It's not like our 2-year-olds over here in Michigan. Just because you have hunting pressure in an area doesn't mean that a 2-year-old is smarter because there's more hunting pressure. And there's still 200 and some thousand bow hunting tags in Minnesota. Michigan's, you know, 375, whatever. So it's still, there's a lot of hunting pressure. And a 6-year-old buck is a different creature. It doesn't matter if he's in Iowa. It doesn't matter. Dylan, would you say a 6-year-old in Iowa is easy to hunt? I mean, you've hunted down in Iowa. They're
still a mature animal that's learned a lot in those 6 years.
Yeah, and so no matter where you're at, they're very wary, and hunting pressure affects them all to a pretty high degree. And so in that case right there, these bucks get spooked. You're hunting an area, you say, well, I just want to go sit in the stand. You throw a group of does 300 yards Because when they run, they don't run just 100 yards a stop. They run a quarter mile usually. When they know you're there and they take off, they're not just running 100 yards, slowing down and bedding down and feeding and moving nonchalantly. They move. We count on that in Pennsylvania when we go public land in big hardwoods. We count on when they get bumped, they're bumped a half mile or more because it's open cover. They might even get bumped 3/4 mile. So we're getting in big transition areas, saddles, X's of movement by lay of the land, and counting on people from a mile away to spook deer towards us. Small properties, quarter mile at least. And so think about that when you're in, I just want to go hunt. It's cold front, I'm going to go sit. That's the kind of patience we have that we've developed over the years. We've learned that we go sit in an adjacent stand where he might be, and we end up spooking deer, and it ruins the area that we're saving. And so we'd rather let these areas, these food source movements heat up because hardly anyone else is in the neighborhood in most areas you're hunting. And that's why we shoot mature bucks like on average of 1 every 6 sits, 1 every 7 sits, 1 every 8 sits, because when we go in, we've let that area season. We haven't spooked those stands on the adjacent locations, let alone the stand we're going to. And so we're hunting clean movements, and we try to preserve those as long as we can and throughout the entire season. So that's why we're not hunting junior tonight. It's part of the decision process you have to make. I think the reward is worth far more than the risk of potentially shooting them, but spooking a lot more deer in the process. I'd rather not hunt, and I find the reward in the future is at a much higher level. And we're really, every time we're making a decision like this, when we do go in, it makes that decision that much better and that much higher potential that we eventually get that buck. So yeah, we don't hunt as much as maybe you do, and that's why the phrase "you can't kill them from the couch" is so wrong. And it saved a lot of deer because people try to force it, and they go out during bad winds especially, let alone adjacent stands that are good winds. And every time you step foot on your land, you're leaving some pressure. And we tried not to do that and manage our pressure in everything we do. And that's how we consistently harvest our target bucks throughout the season. You know, maybe we don't get junior this year, but we found 80% of the time we do. And I'm hoping to see Jen behind those antlers soon. Yeah, I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. Your followers really appreciate and taking the time. I wanted to mention we have our last minute food plots you can check out at Pure Wildlife Blends. We have a lot of different seed varieties, especially our fall power greens. We have ways to establish clover this time of year, rye, a lot of different goodies. We also have our client visits. We've already started scheduling for this year, December through next August. So there's 5 of us going to client properties. Make sure you check that out. And then finally, our books and web classes. They're great Christmas presents this time of year is when they really start to sell. Really appreciate you watching. Just check out Whitetail Habitat Solutions, or for this food plot seed company, purewildlifeblends.com. Thank you.